most importantly, those are things that are going to be determined by what the community wants to do with their port. So we've really wanted to show options. Again, you can put some flex space in here. That would be a good use. There's some expansion of the rail that can be done. There's more roads, a little bit more infill, but at the point when you get 15 or 20 years out, you're going to have some decisions to make, or the Port Authority is going to have some decisions to make as to how they allocate these different facilities, and it's really going to depend on who comes up, who wants to be the concessionaire, who has the cargo, what they're willing to pay, and so forth.
And again, when you're talking about you know, the environmental clearance for a project like that with the adjacent community, you have to consider things like the noise, the vibration, visual impacts, things like that. Lighting is an issue that has to be taken into account. Using welded steel to cut down on the noise, noise buffers. You do noise studies to determine what type of an impact the operations, you project the type of rail traffic, the type of truck traffic you're going to have, and things like that. So all of that, again, when you're using federal funds, when you've got the federal permitting, it triggers the NEPA process, and these are things that all have to be addressed and approved by the federal agency in order to use that funding. So again, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there too, that it's also not just about that the community wants those things, but that's actually part of the process that has to take place.
And with that, Kyle, I think the next one is yours.
The last time we showed you numbers on the port, this is all we showed you. So what we were trying to do with the previous slides, breaking down the phasing, showing the cost of the facilities in the different phase, is to answer some of the questions that came up last time, like Dan had of you know, how do we come up with $200 million, $500 million, whatever the number is for whatever you're looking at. And this, what we've tried to do here, and we've done in the report, and we've also shown you on this diagram that really combines the phasing activities, what's happening at each port, has a dollar amount down at the bottom for that particular phase, gives you an idea of the funding required. And even that, we're going to break down further in the report to show, you know, like roadway items. How much is that in phase 2 or phase 3 or whatever it is? So you can see, you can look across there and see the grading and how much that costs. So you'll know that it's going to cost, you know, $10 million to grade this area versus $25 million for the whole phase, so that you can see the difference in what you might have to invest as a Port Authority versus a developer coming in and investing in a warehouse or something like that. So that'll be broken down even further. But we wanted to go through each of these phases today and give you those numbers for all three sites, so you can kind of see those. But this is what we're talking about now, lower than what we'd originally talked about last year. But also, you know, keep in mind the footprint's smaller too. We're not developing as much land because of some of the issues like we talked about a while ago. Barb mentioned the area in Crystal City that along the river there that we had built out into that area, and now we're bringing that back because of some of the environmental comments that we've heard. And this does not include land acquisition, and also the one piece that, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the master plan presentation, the roadway access into Crystal City. We don't know yet what that's going to look like, so we can't include that cost into the report yet. We will have that by the time we're finished with that part of the contract. We did again go back and readdress the economic benefit, and it still is getting close to $1 billion benefit to the Jefferson County area during the construction phase. Almost 10,000 direct and indirect jobs with a wage of almost $40,000 a year, and then annually after the construction phase, moving into the future, around $100 million in additional economic activities, plus another 270 or 2,700 jobs, direct and indirect. We broke that down into for each million. I do need to apologize. I just noticed that we changed this from millions to dollars here. That millions needs to be deleted off of this slide. Not millions. You don't want to see that in the paper.
So,
Sorry about that. We just took the same numbers and divided it out just to show you what it would be in millions of dollars. I think this is an important slide because when I first started looking at this slide, there were some questions that I had when you start putting all the numbers together, and that's the fact that here's the total investment in Herculaneum, Crystal City, and Pevely, and then you start looking at the economic benefits down here. You have less investment and a lot more direct and indirect jobs than you do, and that relates again to the use of the site, what's going to be at the site, and there'll be, because of the uses that are fit with Herculaneum versus Crystal City. For example, the coal facility there at Crystal City takes up a large footprint, it costs quite a bit of money to develop that coal facility, and it will not produce as many jobs as what you'll have in some of the facilities there at Herculaneum. So where we are, back to some of our original slides that shows that Herculaneum is one of the places that you want to look at first. Fits in with the cost benefit then that you see in this slide here. Okay, some of the next steps then, we wanted to just mention those tonight. And it says gym on this, but it's actually the auditorium. I found out tonight that we'll be meeting in the auditorium tomorrow night for the open house from 5 to 7. And then also tomorrow we'll give Kathy, we'll have the draft master plan report that we'll distribute to Kathy, and then she'll get those out to City Hall, libraries, county exec, and also they'll keep one in their office for review, and that'll be advertised too, that there'll be 30 days to review this information, and also it'll be on the website. The draft master plan report will be on the website for 30 days to get comments on that. Once we receive the comments, then we'll make a final report of, again, this phase of the master plan. We still will have a document that'll come along later on, and Barb will talk about that in a minute for the road access. But as far as the master plan, we'll have that all wrapped up in March once we receive final comments on this.
question?
Yeah.
Last time we had circulation of phase 1, we had adequate copies for all of the council members, plus enough for staff. Are you thinking in terms of how many copies would come to City Hall?
Once it's done in March.
So you're talking the final copy only?
Yeah. You'll have, everybody will have enough copies for everybody to have one in March once it's complete. Yeah.